Good afternoon, everybody. Could you please take your seats, please? Could everybody please take their seats as soon as possible, and we'll start our entree and get the formalities underway. Thank you. Will you please take your seats? That'll be much appreciated, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your attention. If I could just grab your attention, please. I know there's lots to catch up on, but thank you very much. Kia ora and good afternoon. Welcome everybody to the final Lexus of North Shore North Harbour Club Charity Long Lunch for 2022. My name is Duncan Garner, and I ditched the 2:30 a.m. alarms to do this sort of work and get it back on the radio at a decent time. So welcome to the afternoon. A lot of interest in this. I wonder why. I just had Murray McCulley bite my ear off for about 5 minutes there. I never know if I'm going to be killed at the end of it or we're going to survive. I survived, so yeah, it's a good one. Nice to see you, Murray. Nice to see everybody. Welcome to the afternoon program. Today we also have, I think this is why you're here actually, Leader of Excellence in his own field, Christopher Luxon. No pressure, Christopher. They just want to change the government in this room, and for the hundreds of calls I just got on the radio, they want change. People want change, big time. I've heard it. I hear it loud and clearly. I hear it loud and clearly. So no pressure, Christopher. Looking forward to interviewing you. Think about your questions now. So I'm going to open up to the floor after lunch. Don't go all shy in North Harbour way. You know, oh, you get someone else to ask that. There's always someone else, and that's me. So I can fill in the gaps. But you guys think about what you want to ask and see if Christopher can answer it. We'll put him under, is he here? He's not here yet. We'll put him under pressure, make him sweat and all that sort of thing. See if he's up to the job. I'm sure he will be. So I look forward to seeing him shortly. I hope the feeling's mutual. Before we get into the main event, I'd like to say a special thank you to our wonderful lunch sponsor, Lexus of the North Shore. I see are there keys in the cars at the front there? They look good, don't they? Thank you for providing the most elegant cars. If you'd like to know more about the electric E-Lexus, you can ask Matt or Lexus representative on one of the Lexus tables that are here today. So thank you very much to Lexus. I've also been told they have a North Harbour Club special vehicle price as well. Just mention the club's name when you drop into their showroom. So just say, yeah, this is me, club, bang. Well done. As I said, I was in politics. When I say I was in politics, I was chasing their backsides for almost 20 years at Parliamentary Press Gallery. Went to Westlake Boys down the road here. Wanted to be a sports journalist, ended up at Parliament for 6 weeks, lasted 17 years. Left at age 38, and I was, did we swear in this room? I was stuffed. At 38, I ended up back in Auckland doing a radio program on Radio Live. And I walked through the bush at Blockhouse Bay every morning. Thank God I was alive, leaving Parliament. I'm sure Murray McCulley is still walking through the bush. Thank God he's alive as well after Parliament. It's a brutal place, and it's not somewhere. Well, I think to go there is honourable. To survive it is remarkable. And so Christopher Luxon walks into the lion's den. So we should respect him for that. You know, he left a great career. Although he left, his timing was perfect, wasn't it? I'll leave now. There's a disease coming that's going to shut the airline business down. So all his numbers look pretty good, you know, before COVID. So I think we should. Very few people good people don't put their hands up enough to run for Parliament. I can see why, because pricks like me come chasing you, and you get exposed. I would never want to put my hand up for Parliament. I mean, open the closet, what do you find? So I can see it's a respectable position still, and those that do it. We should probably respect them more, to be honest. I'm talking about those in the media who can be complete pricks, you know. So at least, think good of him and bad of me, and then you'll go well for the afternoon. If you are a guest today, thank you for coming. We hope you enjoy yourselves. The North Harbour Club was established 27 years ago. and our values are all about excellence. By attending events, and you've got great numbers today, it's really impressive to see, really impressive. By attending events and activities and via our exciting auctions, membership sponsors and guests, we raise money to grant funds to the rangatahi, which is the young people in the North Harbour region. Once you join as a member, there are so many top-notch events to attend. The Business Excellence Networking Breakfast at Regatta in Takapuna. The next one is with Simon Bridges, Tuesday the 29th of November. Simon's a good guy, and got a hard time in Wellington. I thought I like him, he's smart, he's engaging, and he should probably be the next mayor of Auckland if we're smart. Because, yeah, anyway. Next leaders events. Well, he'd at least talk to you. I mean, we'd know where he is, we can find him. No, fixing things worries me. Fix what? Next leaders events are like our well-attended and quite competitive bowling competition last week. That was a good one. Long charity lunches. How long can you go? Well, quite long, I would have thought, looking at some of you. Long charity lunches such as today, and our flagship event, the AIMES Awards, the gala dinner, plus a range of other fundraising events. All events and gatherings are a great opportunity for people to network with prominent North Harbour residents or business people. If you're curious and would like to become a member, click on the QR code on your table, talker in the middle of your table. Visit our membership raffle table or find a member, trustee, or one of the North Harbour staff, Erin, Jodie or Christine, who are brilliant to deal with. You've got great staff there, and they do a wonderful job organising these things, which is not easy, so well done, you guys. Quick bit of housekeeping. Turn your phones off so the boss, or you probably are the boss, that's fine. I'll just do that so the boss can't get me. Where did you say you were going? Yeah, that's right, so that's off. Toilets are located outside in the lobby, to the left or right. You probably go right. The venue is non-smoking. If you need to smoke, I thought Helen Clark banned smoking. Anyway, if you need to smoke, you leave the building so we can identify who you are and, point at you. Please don't use the doors at the back of the room. For some reason, I think that might go out to the stadium or you'll fall off a cliff. In the event of emergency, stay calm, follow me, and bugger knows what we're going to do. Today, we have excellent auction items up for grabs, exclusive money can't buy experiences like the Adrian Hollywood and Lexus Urban Polo VIP experience. That's a goodie. I won't say what's in these things, I'll just give you a headline service like the news. The Lexus Kids Ride-On car, that's obvious. That's not for you, Dad. The Tropical Escape to Fiji, is that one way? No, it's donated by Hugh and Wendy Steadman, so thank you for that. The Ultimate Summer Cricket Package, which is with the Auckland Aces. To be raffled, we have the Adrian Hollywood handbag. The bumper hamper donated by Pack and Save Albany, that's $300 worth. And if you haven't got your tickets already, the Trust Board members will be circulating during lunch, and tickets can be purchased by cash or FPOS. One for $10, 5 for 20, 15 for 50. Do we do 20? No, 15 for 50. Remember, one of the reasons that we're at the Lexus North Shore Charity Lunch today is to raise funds from our auctions and raffles, which through our charity will reward our young rangatahi, our young people aged 13 to 25 in North Harbour. And boy, there's some real achievers here. Nominations are open. They're open now, so please encourage a rangatahi, which is a young person. I've said that 3 times now. Government will be impressed with me, wouldn't they? I'll just put a little asterisk there, co-governance, tax relief for saying Māori words, there we go. Okay, well, likely true. Application details and forms are available on the North Harbour Club website or visit aimesawards.co.nz or just donate cash to our charity at any time by scanning the QR code on your table or program, or just give it to me and I'll make sure it gets to the right people. So without further delay, here's the right guy. I'd like to introduce North Harbour Club President Mike Atkinson to officially open our lunch. Thank you, Mike. Good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Look, it's my absolute privilege to be here today in front of you as the president of the North Harbour Club, and what an amazing organisation this is. Obviously, it's our last charity lunch of the year for this year round, but we're going to have some more next year, so we're looking forward to those. Last couple of years with COVID, we've been slammed a wee bit by able to run these events, so this year we've had 3 fantastic lunches, and this one will be, I'm sure, the best yet. So obviously a lot of great people in the room here. Sell out today, so thank you again for your support for coming along and taking the time. Also, just really want to acknowledge once again the grateful support that we receive from Lexus North Shore. Today we actually have Neeraj here, who's the CEO of Toyota and Lexus New Zealand, so welcome to you. Thank you for coming along. And it's great to see how Lexus has been able to sort of weave an innovative approach into their branding and their association with some of these events. They've also provided some auction items for us today. So we've got the Urban Polo event that you may have seen on the screen just a second ago. Obviously this fantastic car down the front, which a few years ago my kids certainly would have liked. They're a little bit taller these days, but that won't stop any of you in the room, I'm sure, from looking at an opportunity to buy that for that perfect child or grandchild. And there's also an alignment there with the Halewood luxury handbags. Of course, there's the cars out the front that were glistening as we all came in. You know, Duncan mentioned about this discount that we can get. It's a short time, get in there quick. I know the guys from Lexus have got their pens at the ready should you want to make an order. Shortly we will have, of course, Mr. Christopher Luxon coming on stage and talking a little bit and giving his views as the leader of the opposition. How long for, we're not sure, but anyway, he'll be coming on board and giving us some thoughts. But before we do that, I just wanted to explain a little bit about this organisation and about the club. So if you are a guest today, our annual flagship event is our gala dinner, which is our AIMES Awards Gala Dinner. We hold this once a year. It's a wonderful event, and it's an opportunity to reward excellence in the North Harbour region. And it's focused around AIMES, which is to do with the arts, innovation, music, education, sports, and service to the community. And this year, in May of this year, we celebrated the AIMES Awards at the Bruce Mason Theatre. And what I'd like to do, and hopefully we'll get the AV working in just a second, I just want to play a quick video from that event, just to give you an idea of the calibre of the people that win these sorts of awards. And we're lucky enough, shortly I'll talk about Mike down the front, but we've got an example of one of these fine young people here in the room today. But it's an amazing array of talent. Hopefully you'll get some goosebumps from watching this video, and this is really what we're all about as an organisation. So if we can get that video rolling, that would be awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the AIMES Awards Gala Dinner. While tonight is all about announcing and celebrating our AIMES winners, the silent auction raised tonight $17,625. Congratulations, guys.
And tonight, the 2022 North Harbour Club AIMES Supreme winner is Zoe White.
Thank you so much.
Guys, you have been fantastic. Thank you, and good night.
So some absolute talent there, and I should point out, of course, that what you were hearing was from the AIMES winners themselves, the incredible talent of musical talent, along with obviously other skills and talent that come along that night. So that year we gave, or that event we gave just over $200,000 to young people of the North Harbour region. So just to reiterate, if you do know people that are in that bracket of 13 to 25 years of age, striving for excellence, wanting to be world beaters because as a club we're unashamedly supporting excellence, then get them to apply at aimes.co.nz. AIMES Awards, I should apologise. aimesawards.co.nz. Applications are now open. And North Harbour region, if you're curious, it's from the bridge going north, out west to Helensville, all the way up around to Warkworth. So it's based around the old rugby regions for North Harbour. So it's not just Albany or Takapuna or the North Shore, as some of us may think. So it is further afield. So if you know people in those regions that either live there or study there and could be a world beater, please get them to nominate to apply through the process. So that event again is on next year, as I mentioned. It will be on Saturday the 10th of June. So do mark it in your calendars. It's a great night out. It's an incredible way to see what the youth are up to, a great way to support them, and also a great way to get dressed up and have a fun night out. As I said, a little bit later on, we're going to hear from Michael Brake, who's one of our AIMES alumni. He received his AIMES Sport Award, I should say, back in 2015 for rowing. Now, Mike and I, we've had a few chats a few times, and he carries his award, his gold medal around, actually, from the Olympics. It's quite heavy. It's deceptively heavy. But being a good old bloke that these days is focused on fencing, the gold medal is in the bottom drawer beside his bed. It's not displayed anywhere. He sort of dusts it off for special occasions like this. So a bit later on, you might get a chance to have a look at that and even maybe grab a photo with Mike and his medal, or you wearing his medal. So as I said, the North Harbour Club, unashamedly about rewarding excellence in this region. And also, not only excellence in terms of the youth, but leaders and future leaders of this region and indeed this country. And there's been a whole heap of different significant leaders that have gone through the club, or indeed are still involved in this club, and contribute in different ways. And when I think about leadership, for me it's about people that are making an influence on others and enabling a change. And there's some special person I'd just like to acknowledge today, and if you would bear with me very briefly, is a stalwart of the club. It's Mr. Hugh Steadman. And Hugh, I know you're here because I saw you before, lifting that bloody big hamper up the stairs, spluttering away as you got up the stairs. But Hugh's been involved with the club since the beginning. He's been an active supporter of the club. He comes along to most events. He's always a great sounding board. He always provides a really good level head and some good advice around different things. And Hugh and his lovely wife, Wendy, have always been able to support the club by having a knack for putting up auction items that raise funds for the club. So, look, can I just ask Hugh, I can see you there, can I please get a round of applause for Hugh as a great member of this organisation? And I know Hugh's, he doesn't like to really take the limelight, and he'll probably try and knife me a bit later for singling him out. But well deserved. You know, you're a great addition to, or member of this club, so thank you. A little bit later on, we're going to have our auction, and we've got Andrew North here, who's our auctioneer from Harcourts. Now, Andrew's a neighbour of mine, mate of mine, and I know he's very, very good at dealing with people that have T-Rex syndrome. So that is those of us with deep pockets and short arms. So a little bit later on, he's going to get you to exercise those arms. Remember, we're trying to raise funds here for supporting the youth and excellence in the North Harbour region, so we'd appreciate any support we can get there. I'd also like to make some special announcement or notice of guests here in the room. Obviously, we've got Christopher shortly, but we do have some life members of the club that I always like to acknowledge. We've got Joan Finlayson, Gary Monk, Aidan Bennett, Bob Jago, Peter and Michelle Wall, and of course Professor Ian Watson. We've also got, lucky enough to have Duncan as our MC, which is fantastic, and Duncan's been sponsored today by Ocean Bridge, who sponsors the MC for the event, so thank you to you guys for that. And a bit later on, we've got a special event in the North Room for some sponsors, which RSM have kindly put together and sponsored for us in a media session with Christopher Luxon, so thank you for that. Finally, a couple of final bits from me. Coming up next week, on the 10th of November, we will also be having our Business Hall of Fame. So the North Harbour Club, whilst it recognises youth and those people that are trying to become world beaters and are on that step up, we also recognise those people that have been leaders in the business community and doing philanthropic things and have achieved outstanding aspects throughout their career. So the North Harbour Club Business Hall of Fame is on next Thursday, 10th of November. There are still some tickets around, only a couple, but I'd encourage you, if you are keen to come along. It's a black tie event, 3-course dinner, it's lovely, and we are going to have a special Lifetime Achievement Award next week for Sir Stephen Tyndall as well. So it should be a great evening, and another way just that the club sort of helps take everyone through that full journey of their career or their sporting aspirations or whatever it is that they are trying to achieve excellence in. Finally, just a huge thank you to all our club sponsors. I know many of you have been with the club for a long, long time, in some instances over 20 years. It's a changing environment, it's an evolving environment, and having sponsorship is critical to this club. So thank you. Without you guys, we could not put on these sorts of events and the calibre of events that we run. Once again, thank you for everyone that's put on today's event. So we've got Epicure Catering, Auckland Conventions, our lunch sponsor, Lexus North Shore, and of course our MC sponsor, Ocean Bridge. Finally, just thank you again to Erin, Christine and Jodie. They do a great job in behind the scenes bringing these together. So that's it from me. If you do want to know anything more about the club, you're interested in becoming a member, come and see one of the trustees, come and hound me. I'd love to get to know you all over today, but even beyond today. So enjoy this event. I hope it's going to be a great time for everyone, and thank you for coming along.
I'll just take the microphone down to 5'9". And I think that's rounded up at the same time. So back again, and kindly donated by Lexus of the North Shore, is the balloon pop game with 5 prizes up for stakes just for sitting at the table today. So we'll do this very shortly. Just to mention though, Lexus is hosting a few special people at the table today that we will mention. Nero's Lala, Toyota and Lexus New Zealand Managing Director and CEO. Welcome today. To Brent Knight, Managing Director of Toyota Financial Services. Welcome, Brent. To Simon Watts, MP for the North Shore. Welcome to you, Simon. Good to see you, mate. Chris Martin and Ben Bailey, the team behind Ahi and Origini Restaurants and Lexus Ambassador. Andrew Davis, General Manager, Lexus New Zealand. Welcome to the lunch. And Stephen Blade, General Manager, Operations, Toyota Financial Services. Welcome to you all today. This is simple. This time, look on the tablecloth, under the plate for a red sticker. In you go. Have a look-see. If you are the 5 lucky people with a red sticker, that's the side plate. If you tip up the main plate, you're in trouble. Tip up the side plate. And if you're one of those with the red sticker, I'll ask you to come on up here, please. So if you've got the red sticker, come on up. And we're going to pop some balloons. Don't chip up the main plate though, please. The side plate. You want them? You got a red sticker? No. Yeah. So red stickers, come on up. So we need 4 more red stickers. Another one here, 3, yep. There's a warehouse sale. 4, have we got 5 now? And there should be 1 more. We've got 4. Is there a 5th red sticker? Inflation took it. Inflation took it. 1 more red sticker. That's the red dot? Oh, okay. So the red dot should be on tables 9, 27, 36, 17 and 41. 9, 27, 36, 17 and 41. That's not your lotto numbers, that's where the red stickers are. We're just looking for the 5th person. Nine, 27, 36, 17. Table 17. Table 17, if you look close enough. Table 17. Table 17, look under your small plate, your side plate. It's stuck to the bottom, is it? We found it. Wouldn't put you in the search and rescue squad, mate. Shivers. Eh?
Yeah, lucky last, maybe.
Was it stuck underneath? Was it stuck? The red sticker? Oh, come on up, mate. No. Okay, so we'll do this all together, folks. If I just have your attention, please. We'll do this all together, and so if you wait for the countdown, the winning balloon should have something inside to show us that you've won. Look at this. How exciting. We'll do this together. There are 5 golden tickets. 4 people receive Adrian Hollywood and Scully boxes, and the winner will receive a $200 Origini restaurant voucher. Should we do the countdown? Do it together. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, bang. Who's got the 2 spot? $200 worth of confetti. Well done. Okay, guys. Congratulations for being today's winner of the $200 restaurant voucher. Well done, mate. Only took 3 days to be seen for the broken arm at the A&E. Thank you to Lexus of the North Shore. Thank you to our contestants for participating, and to all of you for supporting the Lexus of North Shore lunch today. Lunch will be served now. You've got it in front of you, and it will continue after your lunch.
Being an icon is a restless pursuit. Because you're only original until others catch up. Introducing the all-new, all-original RX Hybrid range. Our most premium driving experience to date. An evolution fit for an icon.
Okay, folks. If I just grab your attention, please. I'll just grab your attention. Christopher Luxon is with us and will join us very shortly. I don't think he's probably had time to add much of his lunch, but enjoy it while you can, Christopher. So welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. This is your invitation to join Lexus for a VIP experience at the Lexus Urban Polo on Saturday, the 11th of March. Join them for a VIP marquee experience. It's limited. The tickets are $350 per person. Contact George or one of the team here today. So, are we going to play this video? We've played it. Is that it? We've played it? Thank you very much, Lexus. I hope you enjoyed your lunch, and thank you to Epicure and Intersea for the delicious food. And now is the time that I think you've been waiting for. Certainly you want to hear from him. He's had at least 90 seconds to finish his lunch. 2 minutes of me biting his ear. We solved the world's problems in the last 3 minutes, and we're away. It's now time to introduce the Leader of the Opposition. I proudly welcome him to the stage. No pressure. It's just a government we need you to form. Christopher Luxon, good morning. Good afternoon.
Hey, well, good afternoon, everybody. It is so good to be here. I think it's my third time here, but the first time in my capacity as leader of the National Party. So it is good to be back here. Can I just say congratulations to all of you and say thank you very much for what you do here at the North Harbour Club. It is really special. And I know you probably take it for granted what you're doing, but there is nothing like this across the rest of New Zealand, where you have local business people that are so committed, so well organised to actually invest in young people in the North Shore is absolutely fantastic in their local community. So I just want to say thank you for the awesome work that you do and congratulations on what you've achieved here. Can I just also acknowledge some people? First of all, Lexus from North Shore, thank you so much for sponsoring the event today. Can I also acknowledge Liz Blackwell, the patron of the North Harbour Club. Can I also acknowledge Mike Atkinson, the president, say thank you for the work that you do and your leadership. And importantly, can I also acknowledge my good colleague Simon Watts, the MP for North Shore, who is our local government spokesperson and Three Waters specialist, so I was in the thick of it. So Simon, thanks so much. And I just want to point out, Simon and I are from the class of 2020, and when you go to Parliament, classes are a bit like third form, fourth form, fifth form, and we had 5 MPs out of the 41 that came in the last election, so we're a small group, but we're a pretty effective group. So thank you, Simon, for your commitment to the area as well. Hey, well, listen, most of you know my story, so I won't recount it here again, but the question that I have been asked the most since I've come into politics is, look, Chris, you seem like a nice person, you have a good family, you had a lovely career, why on earth would you want to go into politics? And that is the question that I get asked the most, several times a day. And I think at some level, I guess the question is incredibly understandable, because people are quite cynical about politics. They're quite cynical and sick of politicians that are long on rhetoric and quite short on substance and delivery. And so you can understand why people actually ask the question. And actually what happens is we end up voting for something that we're against, or a government that we hope actually won't cause any harm, as kind of the lowest common denominator in terms of often how we think about politics. But I just want to give you 2 thoughts that as an MP that's been there now for coming up 2 years, as leader of the party for the last year, I've got 2 observations. And the first I'd say is that I believe that this is still the greatest country on planet Earth, that we are incredibly lucky to live here, that this is the best place to be. And what I'd say to you is that I have huge confidence in our potential. There's a lot of potential to realise economically, socially, environmentally here in this country. And in order for us to do that, what gives me confidence is that every week I get out of Wellington as quickly as I can on a Wednesday night, because we won't find any solutions to our problems down there. It's important to get on a plane and go and visit 2 or 3 towns up and down this country each and every week. And you meet the most amazing people who are working in community organisations, whether it's on youth homelessness, whether it's on school lunch programs, whether it's food banks, whether it's mental health services for young people. You meet incredible entrepreneurs with great ideas and vision and ambition and aspiration that want to get ahead and make things happen. And you actually meet good people in government who are there for the right reasons, who are trying to do the right things. And so that gives me huge confidence. And when you come away realising that we are all connected, we are all connected to each other as Kiwis, as a people. We are all invested in each other's success. We have mutual obligations to each other. And I guess all of that, and the privilege of my job, gives me tremendous confidence that we have a great future ahead of us and that we have great potential to realise. But the second observation that I would say to you that has hit me over the last 2 years, or almost 2 years, is that this country is utterly, totally going in the wrong direction at the moment. And I can tell you that is pretty clear for me because we are not realising our potential. We're not seizing the opportunities. We're not solving the challenges that we have before us. And fundamentally, I think over the last 4 or 5 years, we've been playing a very small, a very inward, a very negative, a very wet game, and we've lost tremendous amounts of confidence, positivity, ambition and aspiration. And we need to rediscover that again in order to go ahead as one country determined to realise all the potential that we have here. So what we need is a turnaround. It's pretty simple. And I've done a lot of turnaround jobs in my life, and the reality is there's two parts to that. The first is you have to confront the brutal facts of your reality, whether you want to or not. And the second part is you have to have hope, and not hope in some kumbaya, abstract, ethereal way, but hope because you have a plan that you can get yourself and the country and your organisation to a much better place. And so for me, it's about those two things. And I'd say the first side, looking at the reality of where we are, what I believe is we have a government that is spending more money, hiring more bureaucrats, increasing levels of tax, running up higher levels of debt, and yet despite all of that is actually delivering worse outcomes on every single dimension in our economy and in our society at the moment. And it's a particularly unique and special skill if I gave you as business people more money, more people to get worse results. I don't know how you do it, it's a special skill, but this government is pretty expert at it. And so what I'd say to you is, I think there are 5 challenges with this government. The first is it's all spin, no delivery. It's all talk, no action. A lot of activity, but no achievement. And many of you in this room who've built your businesses understand what I'm talking about. There is a difference between saying it's so and actually making it so. And it's called work, it's called execution, it's called delivery, it's called implementation, it's called management. And that's actually how you actually get outcomes. And there's a massive conflation of a spending announcement, a big splashy announcement, and actually we get the outcome. So we have a crime crisis. All right, let's get some money to some ram raid victims and dairy owners. And over 6 months, we've managed to actually fund harder security for maybe 6 to 11 shops only. We make a big announcement about making sure we've got sexual violence supporters as people go through victims of sexual violence through the courts. And we make a big announcement a year ago, and nothing has happened 12 months later. And this government has got really expert at it. Big splashy announcements, big spending announcement, but no follow-through, no delivery, and therefore no improved outcome. And the outcomes matter. That's why I've come to politics, because I want New Zealand to have improved outcomes, because when you do that, you improve New Zealanders' daily lives. They get their better shot at living their life with more freedom, more choice as they go forward. The second thing that I think is happening is we have a government that is addicted to spending. And we are spending more money in this country than we have ever done by a long shot. And just to give you a sense of it, this government is spending $1 billion more each and every week over what it spent in 2017. $1 billion each and every week, every 7 days, light a match, burn $1 billion. That's exactly what's happening each and every week across this country. And at the same time, they're raising $32 billion in more taxes, $15,000 per household. And again, what we're seeing is huge amounts of waste, huge amounts of money being applied into things that we just don't know why it's happening. A great example to me, $400 million almost, being spent trying to merge Radio New Zealand with TV New Zealand. And you stand up in Parliament and you ask a really simple question, as we did 3 weeks ago: why are we doing this? What is the problem that we are trying to solve? And in business, we have problem definition, and then we develop the solution. And what we got was, well, it's not about the money. And you go, yep, no worries, Batman. It's obviously not about the money, because if I took TVNZ and Radio New Zealand combined, They're not even worth $400 million. That's just the restructuring money to do it. So it's not about the money. I get that, Willie Jackson. Thank you very much. What is it about? Is it about the plurality of media voices? We want more media voices in New Zealand with diverse perspectives, not less. And no, it's not about that, because we're now merging two of the biggest media players together without even the Commerce Commission or anyone having a look at it. And finally, you get an answer which is, well, I just want a change of culture at TVNZ, which sounds a lot like government interference in media to me. So the long story short is it's illustrative of $400 million is going to be wasted restructuring those two businesses at a time when that money could be spent on frontline health services. It could be spent getting cancer drugs and pharmac. It could be spent doing a lot more useful things that deliver better outcomes than just doing that sort of job. We see it, $3 billion to restructure Three Waters, $2 billion for the 14,000 more bureaucrats that we now have in Wellington over the last 4 to 5 years. $1 billion on management consultants, and there'll be some in the room that will be having very good years. Thank you to the government. Apologies to my friends who are doing well through that. But I'm sorry, $1 billion on management consultants and communication consultants doesn't kind of cut it. $200 million on a business case for light rail, which hasn't even started. So you get a sense, huge amounts of wasteful spending, unprecedented amounts of it, that ultimately is contributing to inflation. I think the third big challenge that I have is that there's huge centralisation and consolidation of power and control sitting in Wellington. And you take 16 polytechnics, they've all been merged together into one entity, and you think about our quality of our vocational training today, it's got worse, not better. The outcomes are poorer. You think about the 20 DHBs, as grossly imperfect as they were, we're now putting them all together into a massive Health New Zealand bureaucracy, throwing on the side a Māori Health Authority, and I can tell you what we're dealing with is just more and more bureaucrats, more internal conversations, and nothing for the front line for whether we need to improve our services with nurses and ICU beds and better facilities. It's all being spent on restructuring and building big bureaucracy in Wellington. And then you see it with respect to the Three Waters, the assets that locals have paid for over 30 to 50 years, being stripped and essentially laundered through some management structures into 4 big mega entities. And just to cook it off and make it a really good bureaucracy, they'll take everybody working on Three Waters in New Zealand and just throw another 9,500 bureaucrats on top to really cook it up great. And you just know that that is not the way that we're going to get answers. And I guess in our party, we believe in localism and devolution. We believe that there are 3 actors in society. There's government that sets the framework and enables things to happen. There's business owners like yourselves and businesses like you that actually move with great speed and scale and certainty. And then there's also community organisations that see the pain, the hurt, the need, the frustration. They are 3 complementary but different actors in our society that need to work together. And you see amazing organisations in the community that we should be powering up, and we're not doing that well enough. Julie Chapman from Kids Can, who's been doing that since 2005, doing school lunches and breakfasts, does a much better job, I would put it to you, than a government lunch program where you get tofu sandwiches, a huge amount of wasted food, and the government will never do that job as well as Julie or Kids Can do it. So we've got to power up our community organisations and let them go to deliver the outcomes that we want to see delivered in a social sense as well. I think the fourth thing I'd say is a massive amount of identity politics going on in New Zealand at the moment. You know, a government that is trying to pit groups of New Zealanders against other groups of New Zealanders. And you see it with respect to rural versus urban. Farmers have been presented as villains. I can tell you they're not. It's a really important sector for New Zealand. Feeds 40 million people around the world, employs 350,000 people. For every person in this room and in this country, it generates $10,000, but yet they're being pitted off as bad people. You see it with landlords and tenants. Apparently landlords are evil property speculators, but no, 70% of them are just mum and dad investors who have 1 or 2 rental properties. And yet you see that tension there. You see it between employers and employees, and you see it, frankly, between Māori and non-Māori. And that's why we've been pretty strong in saying we're not up for co-governance in the delivery of our public services. We are one country of 5 million people. We actually have a single system for the delivery of public services. We can have innovation that targets people on the basis of need, but not ethnicity, and we're all equal under the law with one person, one vote. It's a pretty simple construct that we have with each other here in New Zealand. And I think the last thing I'd say is that thought that we have a lack of ambition and aspiration. It was very interesting to me. I went out several months ago. You might have heard I had 4 days in Hawaii or Te Puke or somewhere. I did do another trip, which was actually to Singapore and Ireland and the UK, and I had 2 days in each place. And I wanted to go to Singapore to learn about how do you get delivery out of a public service and build good infrastructure. Ireland for education and how they've embraced technology and research and development, and why are they now twice as wealthy as New Zealand. And England, I wanted to go look at some of the stuff they've been doing on education and housing. But not a single Prime Minister, not a single senior official, not a single member of the public was talking about COVID. And I came back here at home and we're still having this internal, myopic, fearful conversation with each other inside the beltway of New Zealand. And out there in the big world, everyone's moved on, and they moved on some time ago. And so we need to get that back, and we need to get that positivity and ambition and go forward and can do happening out there. I guess moving on, so that's the reality of it. Now I've depressed you all, so I'm terribly sorry. So there is two things. There's an immediate challenge that we have in New Zealand that's impacting all of us, and that is that we have rising levels of inflation, the highest that it's been for 32 years, at 7.5% essentially. And we also have, and that is incredibly dangerous because it's leading to the cost of living crisis, and it's causing huge amounts of hurt and pain and suffering for people. And I remember my mum and dad, when they bought their first house out in Howick, they said that they had, in the early 80s, they had an interest rate close to 19%. And some of you might remember those times. But it causes huge pain and huge suffering for regular folk and everyday folk, because essentially your money doesn't go as far as it did, you can't get ahead, and ultimately everyone's going backwards is the reality of it. So if you don't get inflation out of an economy, it's got some very difficult consequences. And the longer you take to get it out, the harder the choices you have and the tools you have to be able to manage it out. I was struck, I had a great privilege 3 weeks ago of sitting in a budgeting service conversation with a family of 4 who had just refixed their mortgage from 2.5% up, I think, to 5.5%. And they actually triggered them to be in a mortgagee sale with the bank. And the bank said, look, we'll defer it, but you've got to get to a budgeting service as a result. You know, that's exactly what's happening for people now as we deal with rapidly rising interest rates to counter a cost of living crisis spurred on by rising levels of inflation. And you know, Grant Robertson and Jacinda Ardern will say, Chris, you don't get it. It's all about Ukraine and oil prices and COVID. And there's a truth to that. About half of our inflation comes from international places, but the other half of it's what we call domestic inflation. And what has happened in this country over the last 5 years is the government has put its foot on the accelerator and expanded government spending by 68%, as I said, $1 billion more each and every week. And at the same time, the Reserve Bank put its foot on the accelerator and started printing money, $54 billion worth of money. And at the same time, the economy was shut down and we had borders closed and we constrained the economy. And the result of all of that was that we have huge amounts of fuel being put on an inflation fire that has created high levels of domestic inflation. And now we're in the perverse situation where the Reserve Bank's woken up, gone from the accelerator straight to the brake, and now we have interest rate rises going up as a result to try and curb inflation. And the reality is, you know, as you've seen today, new numbers have come out. Wage growth is half what's happening with respect to price increases. So real wages are going backwards, everyone's going backwards. Interest rates go up 50 basis points, average mortgage $700,000, $3,500 extra after tax and interest that every individual has to pay on a 0.5% rate increase. And we've had 5 of them this year, and we're due to probably get another one or a 75 basis point one before Christmas as well. So that's huge. People have gone from 2.5% interest rates to what will be 6.5% interest rates in a very short period of time. So it's really important that we actually manage inflation, and I think there's 5 things to do. One is control the costs that are getting passed on to businesses by government that lead to higher prices and therefore more inflation. Remove the bottlenecks in the economy is the second big challenge, and that is constraining productive growth from our businesses, and that's really around immigration settings, which are way too tight, remembering we now have more people leaving New Zealand than coming to New Zealand, by the tune of 12 to 13,000 people, and it will only get worse from here. We have to control government spending, which is out of control. We need to give people tax relief, inflation adjusting tax thresholds. I know the government likes to talk about our tax policy being for the rich. The core component is just take the current progressive tax system as it stands and just lift those tax brackets by the amount of inflation so people don't get caught in bracket creep as a result. Normal course of activity, done every year in America, done in France, Germany, Spain, every other Western European country, Ireland. We should be doing it here. Much better way to deliver people relief for a cost of living crisis than giving them a payment that ends up going to French backpackers and investment bankers in London and dead people. Do you know what I mean? Not the smartest, most enduring solution to deal with rising levels of inflation. And then the last thing I'd say is we want to see the Reserve Bank get really focused back on fighting inflation, getting it back to under 3%, make that that 100% of their mandate as it once was. So that's sort of the short term that we've got to do, is get a grip on inflation, because the longer it goes on, the less tools we have available, the harder it gets, the more pain and suffering it causes people. The longer term thing, the hope, and why I'm so hopeful about it, and apologies I'm spending a lot of my time on economics, but I'm doing it deliberately because it's a business crowd, and ultimately the strong economy means we can deliver better public services. It's the way in which we actually help get people to be able to own their own home, to be able to pay their mortgages back, to do all those sorts of things. A strong economy enables better healthcare services, world-class education system. So that's why it's important to us. It's not because we're interested in the money per se. The economy is actually enables everything else to happen that we want to happen in this country. So when you go around the world and you look at other advanced economies, small advanced economies of 5 million people, places like Israel and Ireland and Denmark and Switzerland and Singapore, what is it that they've done to actually march themselves up, to make themselves more productive, to be able to sell higher value products and services, to realise higher wages and salaries? And it sort of comes down to about 5 things. And over the last 30 years, under successive national and or Labour-led governments, we actually haven't made any progress on productivity. And it's an economic term, but basically it just means the value of the stuff we produce divided by the people producing it. And essentially that means that we are having to work harder than other countries, and we are already some of the hardest working people on planet Earth. We work for an hour to earn what the average Australian earns in 45 minutes. We work an extra 9 weeks than the average Brit, because in order to get our incomes up, we have to work that much harder than they do. And the reality is we don't need to work harder in this country, we need to work a lot smarter if we're going to go forward and actually realise more wealth for all of us. And so there's 5 things that these countries do. One, they build a world-class education system. And I have to say that's the most disappointing and alarming statistic I've encountered since coming to politics in the last 18 months, 2 years. 55% of New Zealand kids are not going to school regularly on average across New Zealand. We have 100,000 kids that are actually chronically absent from school. Now, in my day, we went to school daily. It was kind of what we all did. There was a period in time when my brother bunked off for 2 days on his BMX bike out in Flatbush in Howick, but we got him back and he got back into school and he got on the program and that was all good. We're not talking about that. We're talking about systemically kids just not showing up or being connected to school in any form at the moment. And people will say, Jacinda Ardern will say to me, Chris, but it's all to do with COVID. It's not to do with COVID, because Ireland and Canada and the American states and Australia have all got back to 85% of their kids being at school regularly, not 45%. So we have a real problem around attendance. And then if you're lucky enough to get into the gate, we've just discovered in the last 2 weeks, 2/3 of our NCA students cannot pass the most basic reading, writing and maths tests. So they are coming out of high school functionally illiterate and functionally enumerate. And that means they're not work ready for you and your businesses as they come through. So we have to go back to basics on education. We have to get our kids into school. That's a government school and parental responsibility. We have to make sure we teach the basics. We want to guarantee an hour of maths and an hour of reading for primary school students. We think that's a pretty perverse thing to have to say, but that's not happening today, so we have to make sure that that happens. We need to make sure that we're teaching the basics and not all the kumbaya and mush that's been thrown into that curriculum. Strip it out, get it back to some basics done well and brilliantly. Measure the progress and make sure we're valuing our teachers and building that profession up as something that's incredibly valued. It was interesting being in Ireland. They have a surplus of teachers, but to become a teacher, you actually have a really high standard of academic achievement to get in to be able to be teaching, and they love it and they value it within their country in a big way, and we can do a much better job of that, supporting our teachers. Because our teachers are having to be the counsellors, the parents, the psychotherapists, are dealing with all the behavioural issues. They can't even get to the teaching stuff because they're dealing with all the other things. So one is we've got to build a world-class education system, because where we sit today is a social failure, it's a moral failure, and importantly, it's a future economic crisis, because how do we access higher paying jobs if we can't get our kids educated in that way? The second big challenge is really around infrastructure. And I think I've told this story to some of you before, but I remember going to Singapore a few years back, and then I came back to New Zealand and I drove up George Bolt Drive from the airport up into the city, and it took me 43 minutes to go less than half a kilometre, and I looked around and all I could see was cones. And what I worked out is we are world class. We are the best in the world. If you want to be best in the world at something, we are the best in the world at laying out cones. And in fact, if you want an export-led business and a new entrepreneurial idea for the young people in the room, set up a cone layering out company and go to the other 195 countries in the world and put the cones out, because we do that better than anybody. We can't build anything, but we do cones really good. And it sort of struck me, we need a really good master plan of what is the critical infrastructure by the sub-regions of New Zealand that will make the most difference to the most amount of people in the fastest amount of time. And I was down on the Waikato Expressway and I spoke to a lovely vet, and she said to me, Chris, two things. She said the trip from Te Rau to Auckland is now 35 minutes shorter than it once was. She said, I can do one, if not two extra jobs a day going as a vet onto farms because I use the Waikato Expressway as a spine and I jump on and jump off. I can also choose to get home much quicker to my two kids at home. So infrastructure has economic, social and environmental benefits, as we've seen across the country. But we need a proper master plan. We need to get clear on the funding mechanisms. We need to get really clear on the supporting, enabling infrastructure. And we need to make sure that we can actually execute and do it really well. I'm always struck, it's amazed me since coming to politics, I'm the MP for Botany. There's been something called the Eastern Busway. It's been going on now for 24 years. It's almost like a daily religion. It's discussed and talked about a lot. It's a 6.5 kilometre express busway. We've completed stage one, whoop-de-doo, of a 5-stage project, and it's taken us 24 years to get there so far. And I look at it and I think John F. Kennedy said, let's go to the moon. It's a big ambition and aspiration. 9.5 years later, people were on the moon. And so why does it have to take us longer than 9.5 years to do anything? Central interceptors, second harbour crossing, just go through the list of things that we end up debating, discussing, having lovely conversations about. It's wonderful, but we're not getting things done as a result, and that doesn't improve people's daily lives as a consequence. So infrastructure, a big thing after education. Third big thing is technology, research and development. I have been really blown away as I've moved around the country. The level of tech entrepreneurship we have is fantastic. We can build world-class tech companies from New Zealand, but we want them to go out into the world to become those billion-dollar companies that we desperately need, more than the one or two that we have here in New Zealand, a bit like we saw in Ireland happen. They exported all their tech firms around the world that created huge amounts of wealth. Now they're twice as wealthy as New Zealand. They used to be 75% as wealthy as New Zealand just less than 20 years ago. And a lot of that's to do about embracing technology, research and development, getting what we're doing in the universities, with the businesses, with the institutes joined up, like we see in Denmark, like we see in Israel, like we see in Ireland and Singapore and places like that. There's huge opportunity for us to do that. I've been very struck in agriculture. Get out and actually see what's happening. A livestock improvement corp down in Waikato that does amazing breeding programs to improve the productivity of our animals. Amazing research projects at Lincoln University. Ag tech is a really good way in which we'll stay the best in the world at agriculture as we go forward. The fourth thing is making sure we're making it a business-friendly environment. Businesses don't want to invest at the moment. They're uncertain as to what's happening. They're getting hit with costs and compliance and red tape, and as a result, they're kicking for touch, playing safe, not playing to win. Spoke to a business in East Tamaki. I've got 4,000 businesses averaging 15 employees each. This gentleman won a huge contract in Australia to make plastic utensil. He said he'd have to spend $1.5 million on new plant and equipment, but he couldn't guarantee his product and his raw materials would make it through Auckland Port because they've dropped on-time performance from 80% to 40%. He wouldn't get his raw materials there. He needed 3 specialist workers to add to the 15 that he needed, but he couldn't get them through immigration. He'd spend $1.5 million, make his item if he was lucky, get it back out through the ports to his customer in Australia, and the Australians would say, thank you very much, sunshine, lovely experience, but a bit Kiwi hokey. You arrived too late, too on time, not doing it, moving to a local supplier in Australia. So he, as a result, he doesn't take that opportunity, he doesn't actually follow that through. And we need to embrace enterprise. It's the lifeblood of what we do in New Zealand, and back people who want to take a risk and make things happen. And the last thing I'd say is our international connections. We are not going to get rich with 5 million people on 2 or 3 islands on the South Pacific Ocean just trading stuff with each other. We have to have confidence to go out there where there's 7.8 billion people, 195 countries. We sit bang smack in the middle of Asia, Americas and Australasia. There's a huge opportunity for us there, and we need to get out there and start hustling again. The Australians did a free trade agreement with India during the middle of COVID. The Brits have done the same thing. Meanwhile, we've been on the myopic, inward-looking model that we've been pursuing, and we haven't been out there. And as a result, a lot of our relationships, our trading relationships, have gone cold, and we have to restart those and actually make them come together. And linked to that is that we want to be a country that welcomes immigrants to New Zealand, because we desperately need them. And the government seems to think that immigration is a zero-sum game. If we bring an immigrant in, it takes a job away from a local Kiwi. Well, today we have 50,000 more New Zealanders on the unemployment benefit than we did when this government came to power, when we've got record low unemployment and we've got lots of job shortages everywhere. So ultimately, that's the recipe by which we actually build a more successful, more productive economy that supports all of us. So With that, I'd just say in closing, I still think we have the best country on planet Earth. I think it's incumbent upon all of us in community and business and government to work together to actually get to deal with the challenges we've got, but also to realise those opportunities. Imagine what it feels like when we create a place where every Kiwi can flourish. Imagine what it feels like when we genuinely create a society built on opportunity, where you can come to New Zealand, start off life in New Zealand and actually make something happen. It's the place you want to raise a family, it's the place you want to start a business, it's the place that you want to do some good stuff in your community. I think if we do that, we can realise all the potential we have, but it will be up to us and we will get ultimately what we deserve, and I think we deserve the best, but it requires all of us to work together. And with that, happy to take any questions from Duncan. Thank you very much.
We don't have a lot of time, so we'll do this standing up. Then you know, if you try to run away, I can grab you, see. All right, hey, brilliant speech, and all the politicians I've covered over the years. I've never seen them speak for so long without referencing their notes.
Yeah, I tend to forget them.
You've remembered that. It's pretty good. Pretty good. There were a number of questions from the crowd, and also we've had some handed in as well. I might do some quick fires to start with.
Yep.
Tax cuts. When will you do them?
We want to look at the books when we get it before the election. They open up all the books. We'll do it in a responsible, economically responsible way. And as to exactly how we phase detail, that will depend on the books. What I'd say is, and the reason I'm not trying to check our punches there, we're going to do it. We're a party of low taxes, but it's important that we do it in the right way.
But you know the books are dodgy. You know that they're $9 billion in debt, and it's probably worse.
Yeah, no, well, that's what we've got to adjust, and what we've got to see. But at the moment, you've got a government generating $15,000 per household in extra tax. A good government should be able to offer tax relief and also improve public services, given the amount of spending and the amount of tax revenue that's being raised.
Will the top rate of tax come down?
Yeah, I mean, our view is that we want to undo all of Labor's taxes. That includes the 39-cent rate. As to the pace and timing of that, that'll be determined off that in particular.
Will it be in your first term?
It will be in our first term. The question won't be necessary from day one, depending on what the state of the books
So it could be promised, and it will be in the final year.
Well, again, we'll look at it. He's so good at this, eh? Someone new to politics. You're in the hands of a political journalist master. But Jedi mind tricks. Yeah, you've seen it all before. But no, I mean, the point on taxes is there's three parts to it. The first is, let's just do the indexation of tax thresholds next week. Let's go do that now, because that's an enduring way to solve inflation and rising cost of living, and that helps everybody. Everyone's going backwards. We can sort that out. The second thing is, we need to unwind the Labor tax increases that they've put in. Here's some dumb examples. Interest deductibility has to be reinstated. The Bright Line has to go back from 10 to 2 years. Why? Because those two things have driven rents up $40. If you think about it, we've now got a ute tax has to go. I was in a place yesterday on Waipukurau in Dannyvert. There was an awful lot of utes, but they've just ended up paying $40 million to Tesla users in New Zealand, or Tesla car buyers in New Zealand. Many of you got Teslas. I know they're great cars, but you've been subsidised by the farmers, so we don't support that. And then ultimately on the 39-cent tax rate, it's about making sure that we're competitive and that we can attract talent here. We need doctors, we need engineers, we need surgeons, and that's what that's about.
How do you get them here? How do you get people to come here to find New Zealand attractive again? Because we were too slow to exit COVID. Yep. They chose everywhere else. Now we don't have a workforce. Yep. Every business that I speak to, you speak to, no one can find staff. How do you change that?
Yeah, well, we have to open up the immigration settings big time. And again, that has been my frustration. If you just take hospitality, working holiday visas, Australia's been doing it for 8 months. We haven't been even out there. I think we sent an email to some people apparently before, and nothing's actually happened. And the reason's very simple. We need to not charge them a fee to do it. We need to say we're going to extend it to 35. If you've been here once, you can come here twice, a third time, probably throw another 6 months on top so they can do the work and actually stay on and have a holiday. But it's getting competitive with what we're offering. We want nurses. We're 4,000 nurses short in this country to get back to what we want as a standard of care in New Zealand.
Do you make your education free? Free education for nurses?
Well, that's one of the things you sort of want to think about, is could you create situations where you actually offer up free fees for key occupations, teachers, nurses, but there's a quid pro quo or responsibility of bonding at the end of it, for example.
Are your tax cuts inflationary?
No, we think the government's going to, we think the people of New Zealand will save some of that money, or they'll spend it better than the government will.
Save it in a cost of living crisis?
Sorry?
Save money in a cost of living crisis?
Put it into their mortgage, do other things that'll be helping them. We think that they should have cash in their own pocket to spend it, save it as they see fit.
Youth justice system. Do you kick their ass, or do you give them a cuddle?
There's a combination of both. The first thing is...
What do you do first?
Yeah. The first thing is we've got to set the consequences, because Here's the deal on our social construct with each other in New Zealand. It is built on rights and responsibilities. And at the moment, we have a bunch of New Zealanders who want all the rights, but are not prepared to live up to the responsibilities. And so there's two parts to it. The first is we have to have much more serious consequences for serious youth offenders. And we have a range of tools available. We have sort of the wet bus ticket of the family group conference, and what the police euphemistically call catch and release. We have home detention, and we have community service. And then we ultimately also have residential youth facilities for serious repeat offenders. And that is a big part of what's going on. 25% of those ram raids are being done by repeat offenders. So we need to put the consequences of that in place and make it really clear to people. But equally, last Friday I was with kids that actually had done some stealing of cars and ram raiding. And you get to their situation in their life and it's pretty tragic. They're getting the crap beat out of them at home every night. They leave the home to get away from a bad situation. They end up stealing a car, getting into that situation. So we have to use what we called, in Bill English called social investment, to actually target those kids. We know who they are because they're falling out of education. They may have healthcare issues or interactions with the criminal justice system, and surge them in particular, try and change the trajectory of where their lives are going. If we get them to finish school, that's a good thing. That changes
they don't
everything.
go to school.
They don't go to school, and that's the problem. 55% of our kids aren't going to school, and it's a contributor to that.
Do you hold parents accountable? Do you hold parents accountable in the courts?
Yep. First of all, you don't spend $5 billion more on education, hire 1,400 more bureaucrats for Wellington, not for truancy officers or teachers or teacher aides, and not have a single person working on truancy or absence, as is currently the case. So there's a government responsibility. There's a school responsibility, where schools need to make an effort to keep in connection with those families and those kids, and they get funding arrangements for a certain level of students, and if they're not showing up, they still get that funding. And then their biggest call, exactly as you identified, as parents. The reality is, if you can't wake up at 7 o'clock, get your kid to school, so they've got an opportunity to get into better circumstances through education than you have. We've got to call parents to responsibility.
Three Waters gone?
Yep. Basically, the problem with Three Waters, and Simon and I have talked a lot about it, is the cost benefits are unrealistic. There's lots of cross-subsidisation between districts who have managed their water assets well and those that haven't, and there's this massive convoluted governance and management structure that moves the asset from local control to mega bureaucracy. So what we support is keep the asset in local control, don't impose co-governance on the community to be able to do that, and we support Te Mara RFI, the regulator.
But will some things be so far down the track when you get there that you can't turn it back? So I'm thinking about the Māori Health Agency.
Yeah, this government's so hopeless at getting things done that I think we'll be able to unwind.
They won't be at the start line.
Yep. Yeah. And the Māori Health Authority, we're going to scrap that because, as I said to you, we are one country. We can have a single system of delivery, whether it's education or healthcare. We can create innovation. In education, it's charter schools, but they target people on the basis of need, not ethnicity. And that's really important in a small country like ours, to do it once and to do it right, and still have innovation within the one system, not have two separate systems.
How much will you cut? How many billions will you cut from government spending?
There's going to be a lot because essentially we've got, as I said, we're spending $1 billion more than we were in 2017, and there's a huge amount of waste. And it's a question of going through line item by line item and holding ministers accountable for delivering, improved outcomes. You could
spend 6 years undoing it all.
Yeah, but
it would take that much time.
Yeah, it's a really good point Duncan raises, is you could perpetually restructure for the next decade the civil service and the public service. But the way to go about it, and I spent 3 hours at Bill English's house just discussing this with him the other night, just the two of us, was actually set targets, and then all of a sudden the CEOs start to behave and deliver on those targets, and you make them very transparent to everybody else. And you watch and see how quickly a CEO gets religion and understands what the goal is, which is to actually deliver improved outcomes for New Zealanders. And I think that's really important. The thing that's happened with the government is they've taken away all the targets. So if you go to somewhere like health, we had 6 critical targets. You look at emergency department wait times, you've now got a fifth of New Zealanders waiting more than 6 hours. In June, you had 400 New Zealanders wait more than 24 hours to see an emergency department, and 4,000 left because they couldn't get service. If you look at access time to first specialist services, it used to be 1,000 Kiwis waiting more than 4 months. Now there's 39,000 Kiwis waiting more than 4 months to see their first specialist before they even get to a surgery to solve their problem. So targets matter. You know about it in business. You set a target, you understand the outcome. It's an outcome, it's not an output or an input, and you get really clear on that. All of a sudden, those public servants understand why they're going to work each day, what they're trying to do to improve the lives of New Zealanders.
We'll open this up with the floor very quickly. Only set targets you can achieve. That was what Grant Robertson once told me. Only set targets you can achieve. So soft.
Well, you've got to have some ambition and aspiration, I think. So I think that's important.
Yeah. Do you think we're heading towards recession?
I seriously hope not, because it's going to get really messy if we're dealing. Well, I don't think we have to if you get a grip on this government spending very quickly. If you get a grip on the government spending, interest rates start to, to slow things down, we can avoid it. But if we if we see rising levels of unemployment and still high levels of inflation, that's painful.
Winston.
Is he in the building? You look like you're calling him out.
There'll be some ghosts here. Would you do a deal with him? If you had to, you'd have to.
This is the parlour game they play in Wellington Beltway, eh? Like, who will you rule in and rule out a year out from an election? Personally, I get on quite well with them. I enjoyed interacting with them in my last life, and I found them, you're pretty direct and pretty straight up, and we had some sporty conversations, as you will remember, because you were in them, around regional routes and pricing, if you remember those days.
Yeah, I do. We went out.
You probably want to start that up again, I'd say. Yeah.
In New Zealand.
But no, so Winston, we won't rule him or anyone out.
You can't afford to, can you?
Well, no, I mean, I think the bottom line is, we're going to focus on making sure the National Party every quarter keeps improving.
Do you trust Winston?
Making its case.
Do you trust Winston?
Well, my dealings with them have been pretty straightforward, is my experience of them. So, but the question I'd say to you is, our job is fundamentally renewing the National Party and making sure it's competitive and making sure that we're actually coming forward, not just opposing the government, but proposing ideas that will take the country forward.
Okay, questions? Have I forgotten anything?
Don't think so.
Sure, yeah. Go for it.
Can you say your name, mate, and where you work?
Hold on.
Yeah, I'm a lawyer, so...
That's okay.
Not with the bit on, fussing.
It's still better than a politician, I think. But
the plumber's still got the flash arranger in the boat ramp, though, eh?
So this comes from my background as a lawyer, and I've read the Alice decision as it relates to tikanga, and I've just heard you say we need a single system of delivery.
Yep.
And in my view, that decision, what it does, it takes us down a separate path towards two separate legal systems, particularly as it relates to the rule of law and how it applies to one sector of society and not others. And I think seriously that legislation is going to have to be introduced to overturn that decision in the same way that Helen Clark did with the foreshore and seabed. So I'm just wondering what your view is on that.
Yeah, look, we're still digesting it, but Paul Goldsmith and I and our justice spokesperson have had exactly the same conversation. The problem with it is it's beyond the conventions of international rule of law. And if you're an investor in New Zealand and you don't quite know what the legal system is or what you're going to get, it's a chilling effect for investment in New Zealand as well. So you're right, we're going to have to look at that and we're going to have to address it. Chucking tikanga into it in the rather random and ad hoc way that it's come about isn't good for New Zealand and its ability to attract investors here. And for people to have certainty of outcome as to what they're going to get.
More questions? There's surely more than one question from such an intelligent audience. Mate.
My name's Andrew from Harcourts.
Now, you've got a red dot on your shoulder, mate. Is that because you're a Labour supporter? Is that why you've been identified in this room?
You're putting me on the spot. No, I will vote for you. Okay, I'll vote for you. I enjoyed what I heard, but it does flow into my question. I was talking to my 17-year-old niece a couple of weeks ago, and she's turning 18 next year, so she gets to vote, and she's excited about voting. And I said, "Who are you voting for?" And she said, "I'm voting for the Green Party." And of course, as every New Zealander, I think there's this whole we want to be clean, green and do the right thing, and that's why she's voting for them. And I was just wondering, is there a opportunity to set up, like the Commerce Commission, a green division? Because I think every government should have a green responsibility. But at the moment, it's a party for Labour, right?
Yeah, so
Per vote.
You mean in terms of the green, people have often talked about could you do an Angela Merkel and actually have a blue-green coalition between, which she did with 14 of the 16 German governments for 20 years. The problem is this, if you look at it, the Māori Party used to be a party around localism and devolution, which is what we believed in, empowering local iwi and councils to deliver and manage against local natural resources, that sort of stuff we're quite comfortable with. But now it's moved to a party around separatism. The Green Party, I'd put it to you, beyond James Shaw and Eugenie Sage, there's a whole bunch of other worthy agendas as they may well be in the Green Party, but it's not purely about the environment or even climate. And so that's the change that's happened, say, since the key English era in terms of the dynamics of both those parties. So, we are very committed to net carbon zero by 2050. the means by which we deliver those ends will be different from how this government's going about it. You know, if you look at the 330 actions that they've got on this space, over half of them are, we're going to facilitate a strategy, come together, have some post-it notes, have a lovely working, you know, off-site, you know, discuss some stuff, but not actually get things done. So, you know, we are committed to it deeply and removing, you know, and reducing emissions, but the way we go about it will be quite different. In terms of how we access and energise the ETS scheme, how we invest in research and development, some of those things.
My daughter has done the same thing with me. She's going to vote the Greens. She hasn't been home for 2 years. We've banned her. So you just.
Oh, you got to stay in relationship with the daughter.
If you put your kids to the test and you ask them, okay, well this is the deal: is they have their cheap clothing that the Greens are opposed to, and the recycling scheme they don't you know, the water bottle they always have, all this stuff. And if you test your kids, they actually don't know anything.
Yeah.
So you've got to help them through this, okay? So she's allowed back next year, maybe 2024, I don't know, we'll see. Yeah. But yeah, you can ban them, they've got nowhere to live. Any more questions? Yeah, sir.
Hello?
Yes, can we have a woman, please? It would be helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we'll go to you.
Yes, ma'am.
I think you're speaking to the converted in this room, and I'm fortunate that most of our friends and people we mix this with feel the same. What I'm curious is, what is your strategy to move the centre left? You've got, I mean, we saw with the election with Bill English, you kind of got the majority, but you didn't get over the line. And my biggest concern is, I think all the ideas are fine and great, but at least you can get over the line. So
how do you get to the centre?
How do you convert those?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So the way I look at it, and sort of how I think about it, is there's probably a third of New Zealanders that are locked in on the centre left. There's a third of New Zealanders locked in on the centre right, and there's a third that are actually in the centre that might have voted for Helen Clark, John Key, Jacinda Ardern. And in fact, in the last election, there was 413,892 that voted for Bill English in 2017 and then voted for Jacinda Ardern in 2020. And they are quite sensible, reasonable people who actually need to be able to see some policies from the National Party that actually say, yes, these guys kind of get it. And particularly after a period of dysfunction like we had in the National Party, they don't just change because we change the leadership. They need to see 2, 3, 4, 5 things that say, okay, I trust these guys to deliver for me. And so I think when I look at centre-right parties around the world, 2 things that we've done is that we've often projected we care about stuff more than people, and we care deeply about people. That's why I've left what I've done to go do this, because I want all New Zealanders to be successful and flourishing. But the second thing is we often do the economic stuff, and we don't really bring our centre-right politics, principles and beliefs to go solve some of the biggest social challenges that we have. And we are a party that doesn't believe in an equality of outcome like the Labour Party. We believe in an equality of opportunity. And that means we have to work much harder at being serious about ensuring that 5-year-olds in this country, irrespective of their circumstances, actually go to the start line pretty equal, with an equal shot at their version of the Kiwi dream. So we have to go to work on how we build a world-class education system. We have to go to work on how we deal with inequality. And the intellectual thought by which we're going to deal with that, you would have heard, if you want to look up a good speech, Nicola Willis gave a really good one at Victoria University 2 weeks ago on reinstating social investment and reframing what that's going to be about for us, where we use data to identify the most vulnerable, to make powerful, targeted interventions in their lives to get better outcomes from where they're going. Because we know what the outcome is. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. We have 34,000 under 25-year-olds on unemployment benefit. You're put on an unemployment benefit because you're assessed that you can go to work either now or within a 2-year period. And yet these kids are now, once they go on by the age of 20 or under the age of 25, they're on, with the stats and the maths tells you, they're on average for 12 to 13 years. So think about the cost of 34,000 kids over 12 to 13 years on welfare versus taking some of that money, as we would do in a business sense, and go spend it up front, because if we get that kid to finish high school, it changes everything. If we get that kid to get a job, as basic as it may be, that changes everything in that family and the course of where that goes. So that's the hard work that I was alluding to before with Duncan around crime, but also around what we deal with in terms of inequality. So, you know, and I'll just say to you, since we've made the changes, we are making progress. You know, we're actually doing better with younger people than the Labour Party, and that's because they're sitting there saying, I'm considering the environment and all these altruistic issues, but all of a sudden the deal was, I go to university, I go to Polytech, I get my trade, and I've discovered I can get paid a lot more money in Australia, houses are much cheaper, and the cost of living is much lower, and actually I want someone to manage the economy because that leads to better public services and is better for me long run. So those issues have become much more personal rather than, and on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, become much more important to young people as well.
But at 45%, you could be left at the altar. So the answer is Winston, isn't it?
Well, the answer is, well, the answer's been, you've seen recent polls that suggest that we can do it alone with ACT, but I also would put it to you, we have a lot more work to do.
You need to coalesce to the centre-left. The woman is right, that, and this is what Helen Clark did, you get ACT for free. You have to find the numbers
Yeah, we have to go get the centre is kind of how I think, and that's what I've been doing since I came to the leadership, because we need to win, and winning means we have to convince that third of New Zealanders that are sitting in the centre that are reasonably minded, weighing up and thinking it through very sensibly. We have to convince them and get more and more of them. And we have been. We've been getting a lot of former people who voted for Labour in the last election coming through. We need to get a lot more as we go forward.
Well, I promised to be a vegan last time. I made a bet on it,
How long did that last for, an hour?
Final question, sir.
Thank you. Neeraj Lala, and my red tie represents Toyota, not Labour, in case you're concerned. My question is in two parts. Firstly, brilliant address, thank you. I don't think you'll find anyone in the room that disagrees with all the points that you've outlined. The 2 points that resonate with me was your repeated concerns around bureaucracy.
Yep.
And your fourth point, which was around the need for greater collaboration between business and government.
Yep, thank you.
In the last 3 years, some of us have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on government submissions.
Yep.
Where we've tried to outline the reality of what's happening in various sectors.
Yep.
And then, of course, you get policy decisions which are at complete odds with the inputs or the investment in the submissions.
And lead to perverse unintended consequences or perverse outcomes.
Yeah,
seeing
and
it across every sector.
Yeah, and so the second part of first part of my question is, how do you plan to address the bureaucracy, and how does business actually integrate and have a voice with government? That's the first part.
Yep.
And the second part is, specifically, given this event's been supported by Lexus of North Shore, what are your plans with the recently introduced clean car standards and clean car discounts policies?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, let's go to the first one first.
Good luck at the end of life.
So, I mean, what I'd say around... sorry, just remind me the first part of the question again? I forgot.
How do you address the bureaucracy? How does business actually have a voice with government officials?
Yeah, so here's the deal. Like, if I'm in Singapore, what you do is you grab the 30 or 40 CEOs and strategic thinkers in a sector, whether it's agriculture, industry, energy, a whole bunch of things, sectors, tourism, and you actually say to them, can you go off and can you guys in the next 3 to 6 months please come up with a strategy? When it's about 60 to 70% completed, I'll come in and I'll look at the drivers of growth in that strategy, and then we'll come in and say, what enablers do you need? What do you need in terms of immigration settings? What sort of investments do you need around infrastructure? What is it that government can uniquely do that you can't do that would actually unblock things, get things moving forward? And I think that's a much more constructive way of working. If I look at the energy sector, for example, today, you have a really literate energy sector that has a really diverse range of players in it, businesses from all sorts, from small to large, and in different facets of it. But the government's come in and said, right, we're going to do Lake Onslow, create this mega battery, and who knows whether it's $20 billion or what's going to be proposed. And all of a sudden, that has had a chilling effect on those companies' investment in renewable electricity as a result, because they're sitting there going, we're not quite sure whether that's happening, not happening, and as a result, their heads turn to government, waiting for government to deliver what the strategy is. And the government's doing everything at the moment. It's not engaging as an equal partner with businesses. It's not engaging as an equal partner with community organisations in the same way. We saw it with the oil and gas ban. It's a lovely bumper sticker and headline to say, let's go knock off oil and gas in New Zealand, and they did it overnight. But the second, third order consequences weren't talked through, and there was no engagement with the sector. And lo and behold, we import 2.5 times the amount of Indonesian coal than we had in any year of the national government.
But they'd argue that the submissions is their way of engaging, but they don't read the submissions.
I don't think that's the way to go. I think the way the Singaporeans do it, which is we say, hang on, I want a tourism strategy. I don't need to develop that in government. You give me the starter for 10. Let's do it quickly. Let's get it right, get it about 70% right, and then we'll engage. But give us a provocation, a straw man that we can then work with, and then we cook it off together and get it right. And let's get moving. Because, I can tell you we've had tourism strategies under successive governments, where now everyone's just looking around waiting for the government to decide what to do. Well, actually, they know what to do in the boardrooms of these corporations. They know how to do the right thing for the long term. They are managing things in a stakeholder sense, not just a shareholder sense. So I think that's the way we've got to work and partner with business in particular.
What about the clean car standards and the clean car discounts? What's your position on that? Would you undo that?
No, I think we need to be able to adopt clean car standards, and we need to be able to make sure we just might fast follow 2 years behind Europe is kind of what I've talked to Simeon about in transport. It's important we keep upgrading that fleet.
All right, okay, thank you, Chris. There's no more questions. There were lots more questions. Can it be really brief? Because
we did another woman. We only have one question. You've got to get more diversity to your question taking.
Right.
Targets with teeth.
Do you have a plan to put a final date on treaty claims?
Oh, good question. Very good question.
He's run out of time.
Yeah. What I'd say to you is, well, I mean, like, here's the story here, right? I actually think National has a really good track record in that space. I think if you look back and you see people like Duncan McIntyre that kicked off Te Reo, I think if you look at Doug Graham and then the work of Chris Finlayson, who did 49 treaty settlements in 9 years, you know, that was incredible hard work, but he got it sorted. I think by the time we get to 2040, which is the 200th year of the Treaty of Waitangi, we should have all treaty settlements sorted and done. And again, you know, that's hard work, and you've got to get out there hustling it, and I haven't seen as much closure under this government as I saw with its much vaunted... well, I'm just trying to say, by the 200th anniversary, you want all the treaty settlements sorted, for sure. Correct, but it will depend upon getting into the work. And we saw Chris Finlayson do a great job, we saw Doug Graham do a great job, and we saw the case being made to the New Zealand people as to why they needed to be done. The problem I've got with the co-governance conversation is the Prime Minister, as I said to her, you haven't spent any of your political capital. If you believe in it, go make your case, spend your capital and take the New Zealand people with you. But at the moment, you're leaving all of us behind and you're racing off with a small subset, and as a result, that's going to drive division. So on constitutional matters, make the case, take it forward. We did it on treaty settlements. We should try and close them out as fast as we possibly can. I can tell you when we get there, it'll be a big priority for us to continue in the tradition of Doug Graham and Chris Finlayson. But it would be, I think you've got to be able to say by the 200th anniversary, we've got to have all that sorted. Yep, okay, fair challenge.
Okay.
Thank you.
Christopher, no pressure then. If you could achieve all those things in the first 3 years, we much appreciate it. At least in your time at New Zealand...
I can't get any balder, mate. So,
no, I saw that. Yeah, so what I would say is at least the prices at Air New Zealand were cheaper in your day.
Thank you. Yeah, okay. Thank you, mate. I appreciate it. It was a very well-run company, and I'll just say to you, you'll get a very well-run country.
I feel really bad for taking you on in that space and having you go.
No, he doesn't.
No, I don't.
He kept me honest. He was very good.
Okay, I think you have to go. So thank you very much. All the very best with the next year. We'll run into each other anyway. I need you in the studio for 3 hours. Take talk back. Can you do that?
I'd love to do that, mate.
Brilliant. You've committed. You heard it here. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Christopher.
Awesome. See you guys.
We'll just take a quick break. Thanks, Christopher. We'll just take a quick break for a couple of minutes. If you need to go to the toilet, which you so often do in life, if you could just use the one down here. These ones are closed. Okay, so we need you to go this way to the toilet. These ones aren't working. I won't tell you why. It's just an infrastructure thing. Chris talked about it before. But if we just go down here, okay? Okay, folks, can I have everyone's attention, please? It's time to move to the next part of the proceedings. Yeah, come on up, mate. If I could just grab everyone's attention, please. I know there's lots of talk and lots of chat, but if we could just grab everyone's attention, grab your seats again, and we'll kick this off. Always hard to grab you again. Yeah, have a seat. I'll come and sit down, yeah. Good man. When did you leave Westlake?
I went to Westlake.
Yeah, when did you leave? A
couple of years up, yeah.
Heavy, isn't it, eh? You hold that. Talk, eh? Okay.
It's too good to be doing that. I fucking hate being the one to pull it out. It's just way too center attention.
It's heavy, isn't it? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, can I grab your attention, please? Hello, hello. Thank you very much. Very helpful. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Thanks very much. I think as regards to Christopher Luxon, I think my quick analysis would be that your tax cuts will be slow to come and they'll be staged over a number of years. So don't bank on it. I think you could read between the lines there. Welcome back. It's time to catch up with one of our AIMES alumni, Michael Brake. Mike has gifted me his gold medal. I can tell it puts your neck out. It's so heavy, doesn't it? This is something. It really is. If you've never held one of these things, and most of us haven't, this is heavy. Mike is one of our AIMES 2015 AIMES Sports Award recipients. He went on to win gold at the Tokyo Olympics in the rowing men's 8. Which is a fantastic achievement, isn't it? He's a Westlaker, a life member of the North Shore Rowing Club. He moved to Cambridge in 2014 for the rowing program, which is where he met his partner, Michaela, from the Blackfern 7. So, good on you, brother. Mike's been busy multitasking as he's started a fencing business and studied engineering through the University of Auckland. Still living in Cambridge. You're enjoying that, Cambridge? Quite different to here, isn't it? Yep. You got the Waikato Expressway to go fast to return here for family and friends. Michael, welcome. I'll take a seat and we'll ask you some questions. Tell us about the AIMES Award, how it changed things for you.
So I received my AIMES Award in 2015. I was a young rower, young athlete. I just moved to Cambridge and I just started flatting. And so this was my first time out of home on my own 2 feet. Two things really from the AIMES Awards. The first was obviously initially receiving that financial support to achieve my goals and chase my dreams. The money went straight towards a bike, was the first thing I bought, because we would do about 6 to 8 hours a week on the bike just as our supplementary training for the rowing, which was about 20 hours a week. So obviously up front the money was a big thing initially for a 19-year-old to receive $15,000. That was a lot. And the second thing is the network and the community that came afterwards and supported and followed and stayed in touch and offered advice, everything like that afterwards.
And do they tell you what to do with the money? Do they tag it to anything? I mean, you didn't go to the Cambridge Inn or the Tavern. What did you do with it? Or did you?
There was a couple of nights there, but this money was not spent there. No, there wasn't a heck of a lot of guidance on where to spend the money. There was a lot of trust that it was going to go to the right place, but there didn't need to be any guidance because my parents were monitoring where that was going and making sure it went to the
It's disappointing, isn't it?
It went to the right place, I think.
Yeah. As a young athlete, how important was that scholarship? Was that money and that program?
Yeah, the money in the program was really important. So it's, like I said, like the money that's going towards enabling me chasing my dreams, there's not a heck of a lot of money in a lot of the amateur sports like rowing. And so to have a grant like that, it lowers the stress. It means you don't have to try and find a job while you're training. It means you can afford rent. It means you can go out and have a coffee with your coach and not have to lean on them or worry about that. So it lowers the stress. It enables success, most importantly as well.
It was such a massive achievement. I think we all wanted to see the 8 win.
Yeah.
And you did it, and it was phenomenal. That feeling of winning a gold. I mean, and you shouldn't be. I know you gave this to me because you didn't want to pull it out of your pocket. It's such a New Zealand thing. Be proud of your gold medal, mate, and pull it out of your pocket for us. You know, like I did not deserve to be wearing that. This is your victory. What was it like to win?
Words can't really describe, I guess. It's you focus for so long. You know, for myself, we won that when I was 26. And I'd been training for 15 years almost for that, so since I was 12 years old. And for the first 4 years, I was rowing for Westlake Boys and didn't really have the focus of an Olympic gold, but nonetheless, I was focused on achieving. For the next 10 years, right, the Olympics is the goal, so chasing that, and then something that you always hope you're going to achieve, but to actually pull it off, it's like, it was just so surreal. Like, there wasn't a heck of a lot of crowd noise because of COVID, but just the energy in the boat and the event and everything, it was absolutely amazing.
I don't think it should be underestimated either, you know, what you achieved and what your team achieved, because it had been decades. We're good rowers, but we no longer were experts in the 8, so we gave it up for so long, and to come back into it for the first time and win it, you know, is something else. You talk about that scholarship. You were probably doing this on the bones of your, you know, on your bones of your bum, were you? And like, we look at professional athletes, many of them paid very well and do very well. Yourself, when you rowed and won this race for New Zealand?
Yeah, it's a very, still in politics mode here. The money side, yeah, the money, when you start achieving results, is pretty good. The hard thing about sport at the moment, from what I can tell, is that when you're starting out, you don't really get paid that much, because the funding in sport at the athlete level is largely result dependent. So if you don't have results, you don't get money. And so when you come into the system, you don't have results yet. So when you come into the system, you're trying to beat people that are already years ahead of you and have so much more experience and knowledge than you, and you're trying to do it with less money. So it's quite challenging. And that's where things like this come in really key for people who have the desire and the motivation and the will to chase a goal like that, but don't necessarily have, you know, that financial backing yet from the NSO. And now you've set up a company, you're working and living in Cambridge? Yes. Do you miss Auckland? I do. I do miss Auckland, so I'll take... What? Hey? I've got a lot of family up here, and then there's the club as well. So. Yeah. I do miss Auckland in times. I've stayed down there because I like the life down there. It's a bit slower, it's a bit more quiet. But yes, the fencing's great. So I retired from rowing after Tokyo, which was bittersweet. It was awesome to go out on top, and I would consider it very much a privilege to go out in the way I did on top, and young and with no injuries. But yes, I've moved on. Business is something that also excites me and motivates me, and so moving from rowing into the, you know, I've gone into fencing just because I did some jobs on the side while I was rowing, and I found I was pretty handy on the tools. So I've gone into fencing. It's like being a novice rower again. Yeah. I can build a straight fence, but the business side of it, I'm learning so much, and it's amazing. And has there been lots of support for you? Have you found there good networks, good support, or has it been you know, sink or swim? Heaps of support, and networks like the North Harbour Club and the AIMES Awards. Some of the connections I've got from living in Cambridge and just through the rowing community, yeah, there's no shortage of support, and I'm eternally grateful for. What would you say to those? You know, there's lots of people in the room here who have sponsored in all various ways. You know, the club, people within the club, activities and so forth. How crucial is the support? I don't even think the people that enable people like myself and my younger self to do what I did and do what they do. I don't think many people really know the extent of how important it is to have that support financially, but also young kid, 19-year-old, leaving Auckland, going down to Cambridge, leaving family, leaving home. The shore was where I grew up. Knowing that I had that support was another big, hard to quantify, but big thing, you know, knowing that I've got the backing of my region and people I grew up with. Can I ask, so you won, then you retired. Was there a plan to this? Yes and no. It's a love for the sport that keeps you in it. Really, it's a passion to do well and achieve, and you know, that's one thing that I think the AIMES Awards are exceptional at, picking out in young individuals. So based on that, you never really know until you're in the moment whether or not it's the right time to leave or whether it's the right time to carry on. The moment we won, I just knew it was my time. Yeah. It's the sacrifices that you make. I was a much less successful rower at Westlake. For Westlake? Yeah. The first single sculler at Westlake Boys, only because I failed to make the 8. Yeah. So 6 weeks, turned it around, got into the Māori final, but that was the end of it.
But it's the camaraderie, it's important, but it's the training. It is, unless you're involved, you don't know how brutal it is, do you? I mean, and the sacrifices you make. I can see why you retired. Well done, good decision.
Thanks.
The sacrifices that you make.
Yeah, it's sacrifices. People often ask about the sacrifices, and I wouldn't call them sacrifices. I'd call them decisions. You know, do I want to go to that party, or do I want to get a good night's sleep to try and beat the guy that I'm just about to shift up a rank on by doing a good session tomorrow morning? You know, it's not a sacrifice not going to that party, it's a decision. It's like, no, I'd rather do that. And I've got a community backing me that believes in me, therefore I I always felt anyway that I carried a responsibility to do well by the people that supported me.
And that's the difference. We went to the party. Westlake Rowers, they were infamous parties, so you made the right decision. Ladies and gentlemen, Michael Brake, well done. They were good parties, though. The legendary North Shore parties, we've heard about them. They were at your place. Thank you. Right, it is auction time. Andrew, we'll get you up. This is your thing. This is your thing. Andrew North of Harcourts, Cooper and Co. Welcome to the stage. What we'll do, we've got the. Do you want to take it from here, or do you want me to run through some of the process? You coming up. I'll just quickly run through this. You've got the Adrian Hollywood Lexus Urban Polo VIP Experience. You'll have the Lexus ride-on car, that's for kids. Okay. The Tropical Escape to Fiji and the Ultimate Summer Cricket Package. And Andrew, all yours, mate. I'll leave it to you.
Thank you, Duncan. Yeah, so if any of you are sitting on your tables thinking to yourself, I wonder why I got invited today, this is essentially why you got invited to contribute in a financial manner. So we appreciate you coming along and, of course, supporting this wonderful cause. As Duncan said, only 4 items up for your buying consideration. The first one, as we get straight into it. Oh, interesting, I've got a bid from Chris on the first one at $500, so you can go home and say, yeah, bid him if indeed that goes beyond that particular one. But anyway, we've got Adrian Hailwood and Lexus. Thank you, Lexus. They're sending you off VIP marquee, or giving you VIP marquee tickets to Lexus Urban Polo, hosted, of course, by Lexus on the North Shore. And then this is really interesting. You've got Adrian Hailwood, who I didn't know, a well-known fashion designer based in K Road. He is going to design a one-of-one dress for you to wear to the polo. And I was talking to a lady down before. She was talking Pretty Woman, that brown and polka dot dress, that memorable number, any Julia Roberts. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it's something you won't find on the shelves, the ones you won't find on the racks. If you're looking for something different to give the one you love this Christmas, I reckon it doesn't get much better. It is on the 11th of March 2023. It's at the Auckland Domain in front of the Auckland War Memorial for the first time, for the first time ever. So it's going to be a spectacular afternoon for you and your special person, or so you and someone else. And of course, you've got that new dress, which again adds an interesting dimension. As I said, starting bid with Mr. Luxon at $500 there, who goes home and said they outbid him and maybe take me straight to $1,000 or more now. Anyway, I'll give you a wee clue. The first one's always the cheapest. If you come with me at $1,000, I help you now. Otherwise, at $500, do we sell it away? Surely not. First time now. This is a chance to do something good. $750 in the room anywhere. $750, thank you, sir. You're going to have a good night tonight. At $750 now, who takes me straight to $1,000 there? At $1,000 in front now. At $1,000, it's against you, sir. At $1,250, do you come with me at $1,250? The better looking person doesn't always have to win. Do we go to $1,250, sir? 11? $1,000 clearly fairly, but I take $1,000. I take $100 for the cause. You sure, you sure, you sure? Over here, what's the bid, ma'am? 1,100, okay, at 1,100 there. Took the lesser of the two options, but I understand. You're in front at the rear. At 1,100, who says 12? It's quiet on the right-hand side. 12 now bid. 12 and we say 13, ma'am, is it? Don't look at him. 13? Otherwise, at $1,200, I sell it away for a second. in the nick of time at $1,300 there. At $1,300, and isn't this fun, and nobody spent a cent yet. At $1,300, the one's not seemingly working. Do we go straight to $1,500 or maybe something more? At $1,300, I sell it over here. 14 or 15? 15, there you go. At $1,500 there. Sir, not to be outdone, I'm assuming. Do we go straight to 2,000? 2? Good. Happy at 2? There you go, $2,000 there. At $2,000 there, it's amazing what when everyone looks at you, you do. At $2,000 there, but it's a good move and a smart play. At $2,000, what are we saying, ma'am? No, we're done. At $2,000, happy to let him and her, or him and who, I don't know who's going. At $2,000, I sell it away. Quickly now, for want of a bit of an offer, it goes first, second. Hood time. Yours, sir, at $2,000 there. There we go, we've got to get you down. Rightio, next we've got in behind me here. We can see it in behind me, or can you see it? It's the Lexus Kids Ride-On car. If you're ever wondering why kids don't seem to drive that well, it's because they didn't get given one of these at an earlier stage in time of their career. Additional items from Adrian Halewood. We've got products, moisturisers, shampoos, conditioners, fragrance, gift box. What's this, something list from Lexus North Shore, plus some golf balls, right? There's something for everything. There's everything in this car. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, the car itself, yours. Great gift for a grandchild. Not that any of you look like grandparents. Start me away at $500, surely. 500, thank you, ma'am, at 500 now. At 500, I'm assuming we go straight to 1,000, or we go to 750. Tell me how. At $500, starting down the centre. Surely I don't let it go. Sell it with just the one bid. First time now at 500, 750. Got it with the lady here first, sorry. Is it 1,000? You're okay, sir? 1,000, thank you, sir. 1,000 now, 1,250, and 1,500 is it, sir? 1,500, just nod. Good, 15, or wave, good, 1,500 now, 1,750, 2,000 is it, sir? It is at 2. At 2,000, 2.5 the bid now. 2.5 is yours, sir. 2.5, good. 2.7.5 is it? 2.7.5, now we go to 3. 3? 3,000, the game of tennis continues. Balls in your court, ma'am. I'll take $100 at 3-1 if it helps you get you back. $3,000, 3-1 it is now at 3-1. 3.5, sir, or 3.2? 3.2, okay, I'm pleased you did the hand around that way too. At 3.2. 3.2 the bid now at 3.2, 3.3, 3, no, sure. I know I look accustomed to rejection, still take it reasonably personally, ma'am. At 3.2 over here, for want of a bit of an offer, it goes, you sure? It's yours, sir, at $3,200. All right, halfway there, lot number 3, if you turn your attention to the tropical escape to Fiji, and I think Mike mentioned it at the start, Hugh and Wendy Steadman, a big thanks to them donating 7 nights at a beachfront holiday, or you get a 7-night beachfront holiday at Denarau Island in Fiji, staying in a fully equipped 3-bedroom beachfront apartment at the Wyndham Resort for up to 8 people. Now, the scheduled dates are 30th of May, to the Tuesday, the 6th of June, although if those dates don't work, there is a proviso to do something subject to, availability and mutual agreement. But those are the dates that we're putting up. So it's pretty much a winter holiday. You have to get your own way there, but once you're there, it's all part of this. So 7 nights, beachfront, sleeping up to 8 people. Travel, as I said, not included, but I tell you what, it's something to get pretty excited about. Get yourself organised for next year, holiday-wise there. Who starts me away? Someone who'd like to yell something out. What are you saying, ma'am? $2,000, starting bid at $2,000 now. At $2,000 there, 3 the bid over here. At $3,000, one bid seldom buys. Do we come back at 4, ma'am? At 4, your smile suggesting a degree of comfort and a bit more money to spend. At $3,000 there, the bid is on the left-hand side of the room against the right. No need to feel left, right out, ma'am. Do we come back at 4? You're sure? You'll thank me later, even though I do not require it of you. What about $500? Oh, you're telling me off. All right. At $3,000, it is going to be sold, ladies and gentlemen. No reserves. At $3,000, Do you give me 3.5 first time now? Cheapest holiday. 3.5, thank you, ma'am. Impeccable timing, sir. I thought you had it. Now do we go to 4? At $4,000 there. No? Don't like your family? $3,500. Selling it away. As I said, opportunity to go home, say you did something really, really good today. How often do you get to say that? At $3,500 there. Still looking for 4, giving you plenty of time. Very quiet over here. Stanaways. He's used to being singled out. Superman, that man. At $3,500, it goes then to the lady. You sure? It goes. 4, thank you, sir. At $4,000 there, ma'am. I'm sorry, he's just stolen your holiday potentially. At $4,000 there. What about $200? Put it on top now. Nodding your head the wrong way. This way's the way we need to go. At $4,000, he's got it. You don't. First time, second time, third time. At $4,000, it goes. It goes. Sold over there. I think it was on table 27. Congratulations. Yes, give them a round of applause. Did really well. And to our final item, ladies and gentlemen, the ultimate summer cricket package. We've got 4 Aces cricket shirts signed by the team. Thanks to John Hastings from Premium. Aces cricket team photo. 4 tickets to the 25th of November India versus Black Caps match at Eden Park. That's 4 tickets there. As I said, the ultimate cricket pack. Great gift for the kids, great gift for yourself. I don't know, do what you want with it, but ladies and gentlemen, I just want your money now. And then throw it at me now. Who starts me away with a couple of $100? I'll make it nice and easy. $200. You give me $200? Too cheap? $200, thank you, sir. $200 here, straight to 4 now. Looking now for $400 bidder. I sell it away at $200. It is that simple. First, second. Third final call at 4, thank you, 5, was that 4 or 5? 4 fingers, 4, thank you, $400 now. At $400, it's against my starter. Do you give me $100 at 5? 5, thank you now, sir. At $500 there, bid against you, go to 6. $600 there? No? Oh, I appreciate the one bid. At $500, I let it go for want of a bit of an offer. It sells at $500. It goes, it goes. Oh, we've actually improved the offering to 2 bloke ones and 2 female ones. Is that what we're doing? Yeah, so if any of the ladies wanted to bid, we've just made it a little bit better.
We've got 2 aces and 2 hearts.
Or 2 aces and 2 hearts. Okay, still at $500 there. Does that change anything? Does that change something? No. Selling it away at $500. It goes, it goes. Sold $500. Congratulations. Well bid, well bought. A big thank you for all of your support, your help, your money. That's it from me. Back to you, Duncan, I believe.
Fresh from the Melbourne Cup yesterday. It'll be a good horse racing combination. Okay, thanks, Andrew. Great packages, and thank you for being so generous and putting your hands in your pockets. And thank you again to our amazing donors, Lexus of North Shore, Hugh Steadman as well. Nice to see you, Hugh, and John Hastings for the fantastic items. Next up is our raffle draw. We'll get the jar. Hang 5. Okay. So we'll get the jar. Throw the hand in there. We'll choose someone down here to put their hand in. Oh, me? Yeah, someone down here. We'll choose. Throw your hand in there. Michael, maybe? Michael? There we go. This is the first up is the bumper hamper donated by Pack and Save Albany. This is the bumper hamper. This goes to ticket number 04214. 04214. Do you have that in front of you? You have to come and get it. It's not a home delivery service. So 04214. Yes, brilliant. Can I have the chocolates, mate? Oh. All right. You'll be in the good books tonight, mate. You go home with that one. Genuine excitement there.
I feel guilty because I was selling tickets, but I promise I paid for it.
Can we see your receipt, please, sir? Thanks. Oh, it's an extra 0. It's a, hey, mate. It's an extra 0 you got in here. You're right, you want it. Next up is Disappointed. Next up is the Adrian Hollywood handbag and products valued at over $800, donated by Lexus of the North Shore. Thank you again. This goes to... You bought 2 tickets, mate. 04133. Like the old phone number on the North Shore. 04133. Is that you? Oh, yeah. Oh, bullshit. No, yeah. Yeah. Eh? Yeah, no, I saw it. That's fine. Yeah, you're the winner. Well done. Well deserved. Yeah. It's a setup, isn't it? It's a setup. Yeah, we'll take that off him. That brings us to the close of the formalities for today, for this afternoon's Lexus of the North Shore luncheon. Thank you to Michael Brake for your attendance, and of course our guest speaker, Christopher Luxon, Leader of the Opposition. You rate him? You think he'll get there? The answer is probably yes. Not much to do though once he gets there. I think it's huge pressure, isn't there? And your tax cut will be slow and over time and not immediately and big, okay? Just deal with that. Okay, I'm sure you can cope. This event wouldn't be possible without our sponsors, so again, thank you very much to Euro Vintage Wines, Intersea for the seafood, Benefits for the design and printing, Auckland Conventions, my EMC sponsor. Did you tell them how big it was, the sponsorship? You told them it was a big sponsorship, thank you. And an RSM New Zealand for the sponsors breakout room, and of course a huge round of applause please for our lunch series sponsor, Bob and Mark Jago. Thank you very much. And the event delivery team at Lexus. Could I take one of them home for a test drive? Come on, if you support, you support, you can't ram raid that one. If you support Lloyd Burr, then you've got to support me, so I'll take one of those. Thank you. Our next event is the North Harbour Business Hall of Fame, next Thursday, 10th of November, Spencer Hotel in Takapuna. There aren't many tickets left. They said that about the women's rugby too, in a half-empty stand. Yeah, I know the trick. Anyway, please advise Christine or Jody if you'd like to attend. Simon Bridges, it's our last bed and breakfast of the year, Tuesday the 29th of November at Regatta, so get along there. The bar's open until 3:30 p.m. It used to be AM, didn't it, in Takapuna? Things have changed. The sponsorship family, so if we don't see you before, then have a great and relaxing Christmas and New Year. Look after yourselves, and once again, thank you for your support. Thanks to our team behind the scenes, well done to you. And make sure you go this way as well. And thank you for your deep wallets and for putting your hands in your wallets this afternoon. I appreciate it. And drive carefully, drink responsibly, call an Uber, or get one of your mates to take you home. But make sure you get there safely. Thank you very much, folks.